Are there questions or comments from the floor?
Nothing.
Okay, then presentations, the senior trip presentation.
Hello, my name is John Memrick. I'm the class of 2024 president, and I'm here to propose our senior trip of going to Hershey Park, Pennsylvania. So we plan to have this trip on June 17th, 2024. We plan to leave the school around 5:30 in the morning and go to the park, by 10 o'clock. As the students will be able to enjoy the park activities all day at 4 o'clock, we will regroup and go on the tour together. Each student will receive a meal ticket for lunch, which includes a basic lunch and one drink. Any other drinks or purchases they'll have to pay for themselves. But we will be giving the students money towards their dinner later in the day or towards lunch or whatever they would like to buy in the park. We project this to be around $10 to $15 a student, but it depends on how many students attend. And we will leave the park at 5:30 p.m., stop at a rest stop on our way home for dinner, and arrive to the school around 11 p.m. that day. Any questions?
Any trolley ride that you guys are going to be taking, or just the park? There's a trolley ride there. Where's Miss Miller? Is she back there? Where's she at?
We're gonna do the factory tour.
Okay.
So when we meet back up with them at 4, we're gonna have all the class all together and do the tour through the chocolate factory and the Hershey Kiss and do all of that.
The only reason I say that, it's an incredible tour around the city, and they talk to you about, I don't know if you guys know this, and I don't want to go too deep into this, but the money the profit that's made from Hershey is dumped into a fund for their school. And they fund all the students going to their school at Hershey. All the kids live on campus. The teachers do as well. And all the profits, because the matriarch of the family couldn't have kids, so she wanted to turn that back around to money towards the school. And they tell the whole story. It's pretty incredible. And they pay all their people, but the extra profits all go into the educational fund. It's pretty amazing. So I thought that would be something that would be.
See if we can add that.
It's a little trolley, if you want to.
Yeah.
Just something that is educational.
Throw it out there for the kids. See what they
Yeah.
think.
Good. Any questions? What's the total cost per student?
It will.
Not.
As of right now, we're not sure. Should be 0. We're hoping to give them the $15 to $20, which will cover their dinner, and which is reasonable for a rest area. They can get a slice of pizza and soda, right? Lunch, breakfast, all that will be included. Yeah, they did an amazing job fundraising. So we're able to have there, and we're taking coach buses too that we're able to provide for the kids.
And just make sure we run that through Wayne, as we know.
Yes, it's already done.
Yep.
Yep.
Great.
Great job.
Questions?
Moving on to topic.
Great. Okay.
So my name is Harris Perosi. I'm the class of 2025 president, and I'm presenting our plan for prom 2024 pajama. So the event will be Saturday, June 1st, 2024, from 7 to 11 p.m.
This will take place at Rustic Ties in Dodgeville. We did have the same venue last year, and it was very liked overall between all the students and everyone who attended. And on the day of prom, we will have a paper that all parents need to sign.
We've calculated the cost per person to be about $60. So the cost for the venue is $60 plus tax, and like extra expenses are to be like absorbed into the junior and senior class. Got cost of decorations at $450, cost of transportation total $2,012.50, and then we've got our DJ for $500, and we've estimated about 150 to 175 students will be attending.
We're here to ask you guys to pay for the transportation expenses, as going on a school bus helps regulate and is safer for a lot of the students to get transportation. If people were to take their own cars, there could be a lot of mishaps happen. So asking the school for transportation is a much safer way to transport all the students.
We've included a photo booth. We did this last year and it was a really big hit. I was there as a guest last year. I loved it. I think it's a great idea but it's $450 from Hazards Event Rentals.
And this is just a picture of the beautiful venue. And so we decided to do this off campus because while a lot of students may not have the opportunity to go to events like this or properties like this, I think it's a great place to incorporate everyone. It also talks about how the mowers will go in between the buses. This is also just a safety thing to ensure that all students get there safely from point A to point B.
And how long does it take to get there, back and forth?
Probably like 35, 40 minutes. 25 minutes.
How much?
25.
Okay. Sounds good.
So if we paid for transportation, how much would that reduce the cost of the tickets for the kids?
If not at all.
We would have to increase the cost.
Due to inflation over the past years, also the venue price has spiked, and we also get food included in the venue, so students want to pay for food, drinks, dessert is all included, so because of inflation over the years, it has increased greatly.
Okay, so I thought that your numbers included the price of the transportation.
Go back to that slide, please. So overall, this would be the cost of everything. The transportation cost would be the $2,000, but that is not into the cost per person. So the cost per person is just the $60, which will cover their ticket for prom, but everything else that goes along with that. So we are paying $65 per person, but having students pay $60, the other $5 for each student will be coming from our class, along with the decorations and party favors and the photo booths and DJs coming from our class, not from the students paying. So they're just paying for themselves to go to the venue.
Oh, so
And
that's
the
just the venue cost?
Yes.
Okay. So all the rest are extras?
Yes.
Okay, that the class is paying for?
You guys got to think of it. Yep.
Sure. Okay. So motion to approve paying for transportation for the prom.
Motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have fun.
East Coast specialization.
So, good evening.
So I'm Michelle Ale. I am the K2 Department Chair in Math.
Claudia Morris, Department Chair for 3-5 ELA.
Sharon House, Department Chair for Math 3 to 5. And Colleen Sullivan, Department Chair for K2 ELA.
You come on.
Okay, perfect. So we already introduced this. Mr. Paulo, is there any way you could help me with this? So maybe Mr. DiPaolo can figure
figure that out. While he's trying to figure that out, I was gonna show you this at the end, so I guess I'll explain this while we're waiting. So this is data from this past year's state assessments. I'm sorry if it's hard to read, but if you look at the yellow area on this page, that's our data from 22-23 school year. So you can see how we performed on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade state assessments in ELA and math. And so they're categorized, they're all districts that are in Montgomery County or like local districts. And I compared their data to our data using the state report cards. And any area that you see that is in red, that district performed higher than we did in that area. So if you notice in the yellow column, there are not a lot of districts that outperformed us on state assessments. So like for ELA in 3rd grade, we went from 2021 55% to 54% in 3rd grade, and then in math we went from 49% to 74%. So you can see that there was a lot of growth from 2021 school year to 22-23 school year. 2021 school year also, just note that for us, that was just after COVID, and it was only multiple choice for the state assessments. So it's actually, it's not probably the best data to use. I should probably add the 18-19 data because I have that on the presentation, but that test was actually a shorter test for us. It was only multiple choice. The 22-23, we had the entire test, which was multiple choice and essay response. So, but you can tell by looking at this data that our data has greatly improved and that we're outperforming other districts in our area and in our county. So, I didn't know.
Is the percentage in students who received a 3 or a 4?
Yes. So it's percent of students that receive 3 and 4s. So that's considered passing. Yeah, I think we did an outstanding job, especially in math, because math was an area that traditionally we haven't scored as high. Usually we outperform in ELA traditionally, and our math scores have been lower, but this year our math scores showed tremendous improvement, especially if you look at our pre-COVID data. The data is much improved from then. So to have 74% of our 3rd graders pass the math state assessments, that's quite a feat. And you can tell by looking at some of the other data on the sheet how we performed in comparison to other districts.
So we weren't going to do it as a slideshow, but we have to do those pieces.
Okay. So I did an overview of like some of the things that we've been doing at the building. This is pre-K through 5. So in the summer I have a scheduling committee that I put together. We work on the schedule every summer so that everybody has input in how the schedule looks. Every summer we also work on pacing calendars. We try to get the curriculum paced out for the entire school year so that we're getting through all of the curriculum. Pre-K to 2nd grade, we attended a conference this past summer. It was called the Elevate Conference. A bunch of us went to that. It was a great conference. RTI AIS, so our RTI AIS structure is completely different for ELA and math. All teachers at the grade level provide targeted instruction to students. So the kids are broken down throughout the whole entire grade level, and different teachers work on different skills with the students. We have math fluency has been a big focus for us, so getting students to memorize their math facts. Tomorrow is our mathathon, you want to join us, it's at 9 o'clock. It's the culminating activity of the school year before the state assessments to just get kids excited about learning their math facts. And we have medals and trophies to hand out. This year we've implemented DIBBLES, which is a different way of assessing students' reading, which is more in line with the science of reading, which is a push by the New York State now. It's a big change and shift in reading. Literacy briefs, Jen and I had the opportunity to attend a literacy briefs conference at BOCES that was statewide to learn about the new reading belief, which is science of reading, and Google Classroom. All the department chairs have created Google Classrooms to communicate with the grade levels that they work with, so they can open lines of communication. So if they have questions or ideas, they can share them with each other through the Google Classrooms. Thank you. So also we've used Dinolingo. That's a piece that we use in the library. Grades K through 2 updated the report cards, so we changed the report cards a lot. It's made it more user-friendly for the teachers and the parents. We've increased project-based learning, so more grade levels are getting involved in creating those projects that are incorporating all the subject areas at their grade level. Portrait of a graduate, we have the portrait of a graduate hanging in every classroom, and we're going to soon have teachers pick an area from Portrait of Graduate that they are utilizing within their lessons. And then One Book, One School we're now on our 6th book this summer, and we picked the book Brambleheart. Humphrietta is our hamster that we got that goes along with The World According to Humphrey. She's still in the office. Kids come and visit her all the time. Brambleheart should be a nice book. It's about friendship and adventure, and it's got another rodent in it, so it's the main character. But that should be a lot of fun this summer. Sorry. That's okay.
Oh, you're gonna do this.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay. One thing that I tried to do with the teachers this year is we tried to increase parent participation in the building, so have the parents come into the building more often. So this past summer we had kindergarten boot camp where we invited parents and the children to come in, get a little idea of what kindergarten would look like when they come to school in September. We have the CDAT assemblies every month. Parents of the grade level that is performing, they're invited to attend. Art class, Shayna Becker has developed a way to have parents come and volunteer during art classes. We have an end of the year summer carnival after we're done with our book. We had the Someone Special Dance, which we had 280 parents attend, pre-K through 2nd, which was a big event and it was very successful. And then this year I had Deck the Halls concert at East Hill. So rather than having students come to the high school to perform the chorus, we had them at the elementary, and then we had the hallways decorated and we had refreshments for parents to enjoy. All right, and Keith, you didn't ask about kindergarten and what we're seeing as kids are coming into kindergarten. So I talked to the kindergarten teachers, and they said that pre-K is a very important foundation to coming into kindergarten. So they do see a difference in kids that attend our pre-K program. Social emotional, they've noticed that students are struggling a bit with being independent and problem solvers. So since COVID, they've noticed that there has been an issue with that. And articulation, a lot of kids are coming in with articulation issues, which is, it's nice to have 2 speech teachers now because they can help address those concerns. They did say this year the kids are academically strong though. So academics, they are strong, it's just that social emotional piece and the articulation.
K2 highlights. So we each chose a few things to highlight for our departments. I have kindergarten, first and second grade for ELA. Spiraling back to revisit, in my opinion, the ELA structures that are in place are one of the most pertinent things that are kind of pushing our proficiency higher. Not only do all children receive Tier 1, which in the past some kids ended up getting pulled out to receive services, the way that it's structured now with a block across the board for the AIS supports, nobody has to get pulled out of the Tier 1 core classes. And I think, and research shows that that helps to not create more gaps. So everybody receives the Tier 1. Everybody receives some kind of academic intervention piece, whether that be a small group pull out for the lowest cohort of students that are struggling the most, up to the higher end where we can use data to help push them forward and help them engage more. So another piece that's a little bit different than we had done in the past was the lowest cohort of students all receive a Tier 3 ELA, where we've incorporated the Really Great Reading program, and that seems to be very successful at this point. A huge piece of ELA is to use data to drive our instruction, particularly in that AIS block. All students receive on grade level instruction in Tier 1. But we're using, and we are using iReady. We continue to use iReady. One of the things we're doing is targeting. In the past, we've looked at that typical growth. What we have found that if we target the stretch growth, which is a higher level goal, that is supposed to close the gap within 2 years if they hit that stretch growth. And so once again, we're trying to close gaps to get the kids more on grade level. This year we continue to use iReady to help break up our groups, but we just rolled out and started implementing DIBBLES, which is more science of reading aligned, and it digs deeper into specific skills that the students can have targeted to help build that proficiency and close those gaps. So that's the dynamic indicators of basic OE literacy and skills, and it digs deep into the very specific skills of foundational reading. And so we're using that at a much deeper dive into the students to help drive that instruction. Along with that, we use those scores and added additional assessments based on those kids that may be flagged red in certain areas to help dig even deeper into the skills. So now our AIS teachers, each class has broken down skill sets of these are the skills that your children sitting in front of you during AIS need to build on in order to build proficiency. So it's very skill-based, data-driven instruction. I'm not going to touch too much on the other things because some of it's a little bit repetitive to the other grade levels. So thank you.
So Colleen, slowly surely we get individualized plans.
Very much so.
Very much so. And what the state is really pushing, along with the science of reading, but talking about every plan for every kid. We're getting there for the most part.
Definitely, in terms of, is this particular child proficient in accuracy of reading but needs to build fluency? Is this particular child not accessing grade level text because they have specific decoding skills? And what are these decoding skills? And if we hit those decoding skills, will they be able to read more proficiently on grade level?
So we're
very much
even going deeper and breaking down every strand of a student's grade or result and say where they need the most help.
Is it accuracy? Is it fluency? Is it comprehension? Is it decoding? Is it lower foundational decoding skills, or is it higher, more complex decoding skills?
Great.
Yes.
What would be a typical number of students in one AIS group?
The way that it works, the Tier 3, which are the lowest cohort, is typically 2 or 3 students. The Tier 2 student groups that are pulled out are typically 6 students with 1 teacher. And then as you have the classroom teachers addressing the AIS, the lower cohort of Tier 2 students that stay in the classroom, depending on the size of the whole grade, typically is about 12 to 14 students, and then the two higher groups are going to have a few more students in them. But even within that scenario, we're trying to have small groups within that. So within that 20 students that you may have in front of you at AIS, you're going to have a teacher station with students in front of you. You're going to be implementing iReady, which is individualized instruction, and then either center work, depending on the grade level. Kindergarten does some center work, or potentially independent reading at their instructional level. Anything else?
And 3 to 5. First of all, data-driven instruction is very important to us. We use various data points, wonders and teacher-made assessments, iReady, Tableau, past New York State ELA test practice. Dibbles will start implementing, we just got the training on that yesterday, and of course classroom observations. We use that not only for our classroom instruction, but the all-important AIS, as Colin just spoke about. You asked about the class size in AIS. As far as 5th grade goes, we have the 5 teachers teaching, and the two, one is a decoding class, one is, I would say, the below level, and those are smaller groups, as Colleen said. Then I have the approaching level, and there's about 11 students in there, and then there's the on level and the above level, and they each have 18. Science of reading. We had a training for science of reading on January, a half-day training. The focus was on decoding strategies for teaching complex text. As part of our summer work this year, we're hoping to have a little extra time to talk about how to build some of that into our AIS. Project-based learning. 3rd grade is planning 1 for this year. Grade 4 is planning 1 in May and June, and grade 5 has completed 2 with 4 planned. Last summer, the 3 to 5 ELA teachers met and developed 4 writing tasks. Under Alicia's direction, she thought that it was important that we have a portfolio that we can pass on to the next teachers. So we developed 4 writing tasks, a narrative, an argumentative, an expository, and an instructional. And we sat together, we came up with what we wanted to do, and then we leveled each activity. We came up with rubrics. Now we're actually using some AI to get some different rubrics, which is pretty interesting to use and much quicker than making them yourself. And we're in the process of doing that. The hope is that we will funnel that down to K2 so that by the time a student moves on to middle school, they'll have a K5 writing portfolio, and it'll be really neat to see the progress there. This summer, we've just been approved for some summer work as well. We're going to dig more into our writing. We're going to look at what we did last year, see, some tweaks and what we can change, what we could maybe eliminate or change the task a little bit, look at the grades of those and see where we really need to put the focus on. And then hopefully we'll get some time to work a little bit on implementing science of reading. We also want to try to figure out a way for computer-based testing to get it easier for kids. This year, 5th grade is starting computer-based testing. We started using Typing Club. In the beginning of the year, they practiced about 20 minutes a day in homeroom in the morning. And when they went to they did like a sample test. It was worrisome. They're not transferring what they're learning to write, like their essays, their race answers, to a computer. It's like they thought it was like 2 different things, which was really interesting to see. So the Typing Club is nothing like that. They're not writing paragraphs or anything like that. So we want to come up with ways to incorporate that Typing Club, but also other practices to get them more proficient with using the computer, because we're a little worried about how it's going to work out on the test. Ever since we did the sample, now everything, the next book unit I did, all their race answers, I made them type them. The essays are typing everything now. So hopefully that's going to help come the end of April, but we'll see what happens. And then next year, 3-5 will be computer-based, so we really want to put some things in place to make it a little bit easier for the kids. I think that covers everything, yes? Any questions? No? Thank you.
Okay, K2.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about math. Our iReady program, the math program that we use for K-1-2 has been updated in 2024. So it's a little bit different as far as the speed and the progression of the lesson. So actually the book looks completely different. So we've been working through that K-1-2. We had some iReady professional development in person to address. We broke up into K-2, 3, 5, so we were able to take a look at that a little deeper with the iReady team that came in. We also updated the teaching visuals as well, like what are the anchor charts, what are the visuals, what are the core words that we need for computation and problem solving. We've been very fortunate. We have a new team member at each grade level this year. We have one in kindergarten, one in first grade, and one in second grade. So we've been building in kindergarten teacher is teaching the math. The second grade teacher is just doing the AIS maths. Kindergarten is not departmentalized. They hold their own students all day. And therefore all three of those teachers teach math to the students every day. In first grade, I teach the core math to all three sections. But then in the afternoons, all of us teach math. As part of our AIS block. So our AIS block looks like this. As you've heard before, we take a look at all the students and we look at where they are, and based upon their need, they are divided up into cohorts, and we are meeting the needs of the learner based upon that progression. We use iReady computer as well, so they're able to, what they're doing on their individual lessons and diagnostic, and on the iReady computer program, we're able to look at the data from there, and we look at the classroom data, and we're able to kind of look at instructional groupings from that, as well as sample lessons and ideas to fill the gap or stretch, because we're always thinking about those high students, how we continue to stretch them forward. So all of us teach AIS, so it's really been a great team approach, getting all of the teachers kind of up to speed on what the new program looks like in the progression, and also then the resources to front load or back load students' learning skills and their progression there. Shane Brinkman did come in, and she worked with us on number sense routines, and she was really phenomenal about giving us information to put in our Google Drive as from the things she presented in the book studies that she had, some resources in other places, web-based or whatever, that she said, oh, here, these are great ideas to teach some of the number sense and problem solving. So that's where we are.
Shana, just quick, Shana is from
BOCES.
HFM.
Yes, HFM BOCES. I'm sorry. Thanks for clarifying.
HFM BOCES has coaches in certain levels, and we have so many days that we can use with them. So the way we've structured it, we've reached out to the department chairs and say, okay, what do you think you need for PD? Right. And then they come up with a plan, and then we push it out to HFM BOCES, and then they help develop what the needs of each person is, as opposed to the opposite, saying, okay, let's go to BOCES for training. It's kind of the opposite. They're coming here to meet the needs that the teachers think that they need.
Right, and for us in the K-1-2, it was really about number sense.
Yeah.
Shanna came for science of reading PD for K2, 3, 5 also. She's been in for science of reading, she's been in for science of writing, and many of us have been to HFM BOCES for multiple science of reading webinars or with Shana. She's been our touch point person for a lot of the skills implementation too.
Yep.
We are like the only district that's kind of breaking it down that way, which is great. And they kind of appreciate it in the back end, because they kind of know over the summer what to expect, and then they formulate that plan, as opposed to just, general PD. So it's much more targeted, which fits exactly what they're all doing.
Right. And then just a little quick data. We have grade level meetings, and that's where we're able to really dig into the data and share students, not just in math, but across, the reading, writing, and math levels, and where we're seeing strengths and weaknesses, and in addition to looking at really crunching the numbers. So that's where we do that every month to kind of monitor our students and where they're headed and where they are and where they're going. Thank you.
I'm the grade 3-5 math department chair. And so one of the things that I'd like to say is that I'm very fortunate to be working with 2 brand new teachers in math, and they are exceptional, and they are excited to learn more, and they are willing to share like their resources and their needs and their ideas. Like we work really, really well together, and I think that we're growing very, very quickly in the math department, so I'm really proud of them. So one of the reasons for that is we were able to do some summer curriculum work. We worked on vertical alignment so that we are in step with each other. We share what, like the fourth grade teacher will tell me they were weak in this so that I can make sure that I really focus on that and have them ready for her. And then last year, we really focused on vocabulary so that we were consistent vocabulary, and so our children really know it, because a lot of times they'll come and they'll say, what is the sum? And they'll act like they've never heard the word sum before, even though I know that it was taught in first grade and second grade and in third grade. And when they get to fourth grade, there will be still some kids who act like they've never heard the word sum, but we really wanted to get into their long-term memory. So we just keep plugging away at that vocabulary over and over and over, and hopefully they won't be able to forget it. We worked on New York State test prep, so we took probably like 4 or 5 years worth of tests, and we broke them down into questions, and we created a spiral review so that when they're practicing the skills, they're seeing it in New York State testing format so that they're confident and ready when the test comes. And that seemed to like really work well for us last year. We are also going to be getting ready for the computerized testing, and that is something that is quite a concern for us. So we have been granted summer curriculum work again this summer, and that's what we're going to be focusing on, is how we can find things that they can do that will be similar to the New York State test. Like when we do a paper test, we're like, make sure that you circle the vocabulary words, make sure you underline the question. We need to make sure that we have a way for them to use all of the paper skills on the computer. So Ashley has already done some of that for us, because fifth grade has to give the New York State test on a computer this year, and she's going to be sharing it with us, and we're going to be looking for additional resources. We have been fortunate that we have aides that have some free time and that they can come to our AIS classes sometimes. We've been working on facts fluency, and so children are getting one-on-one help who are having difficulty with their multiplication facts in third and fourth and fifth grade, and so that's very helpful. And we've also determined that the areas of weakness overall are word problems, understanding what the question is asking, facts fluency, vocabulary, and then they need to be strong in fractions. So those are the priority skills that we really focus on. We have consistent expectations for how we want them to show work, how we want them to solve equations, so they move from third grade to fourth grade to fifth grade. It's not a brand new skill. It's like what I teach them in third grade is the expectation right through. So we're working really hard at getting ourselves aligned. Okay.
One other program that we did not indicate on here that we do have this year too in second through fifth grade is fluency flights, which was added to our iReady program. So it's a computer-based program, and kids play it. They think it's a game, but it's actually they're working on becoming fluent in their math skills. So that's another program. Yeah. Then we can monitor it so we know how the kids are doing with their fluencies. So I did want to include some discipline data over the years. So this is the last 3 years. You can see that we're right about par from last year with the number of referrals to the office, but there's a big decrease from 3 years ago. Positive referrals have also, they're a little down this year and compared to last year, but PE last year figured out how to batch a lot of positive referrals, and so we had a ton come through. These are out of school suspensions, so we've had 2 so far this year, and 3 years ago we had 23 at the same time, so that's gone down significantly. And then bus referrals. Since Michelle Nair was working in elementary 1 day a week, I wanted to make sure we honed in on something that she could utilize her time like focusing on, and we noticed that bus referrals were high, and so we've made we've targeted bus behavior, bus referrals, and so you can see from 62 to 6 those referrals have really gone down. So we've noticed a positive change with that.
We've done administratively wise, just to let you guys know, is we try to target 1 or 2 big areas each year as opposed to attacking everything. So over the course of 4 or 5 years, if you attack 1 big area a year, like the bus referrals, and the next year you attack the next biggest issue with referrals, and start chipping away at those 3 or 4 big areas, that's how you drive down some of the overall behavior. So.
And then my next slide is just, again, of the state data. So this is pre-COVID data for the ELA. So as you can see, like 5th grade went from 15% to 41%, 42 to 58, 40 to 54. And then in math, 43 to 74, 41 to 65, 19 to 48. So we've made a lot of gains in both areas. And that's it. That's us at the conference this past summer. We had a great time. We learned a lot. And then this is our pre-K3 group. There are kiddos that are going to be coming to kindergarten in a couple of years, and that's who it starts with right there. So thank you. And if you have any questions.
I just want to say I'm really impressed with what you've done. And it sounds like it's very well aligned and that you've done a lot of work. I'm really happy to see what the results have been. So kudos.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Great team. Great team.
Thank you. Quick question to ask you. Departmentalization back and forth in terms of your 3-5 math, right? Now you're focusing 3 teachers for the most part. So diving in more, getting more. Is it been easier that way as opposed to now dealing with 6 teachers or 8 teachers? And we really never had department chairs until we went to departmentalization. But what I'm saying is, looking at the big picture, is it much easier working with 3 and seeing the whole big picture at 8th grade level as opposed to 6 and kind of breaking down fragments of each?
I think that it is. I think when you teach every subject, you don't have time to really get in as deeply as you'd want to. Making the spiral reviews is something that I had wanted to do for years, but I didn't have time to do that until I was only focusing on math. So it really allows you to improve your subject area significantly because that's all you're focusing on. And then my my reading teacher, I do AIS reading, but she hands me and says, I need you to do this. And so, yep, I can absolutely teach that for you, but I'm not thinking about it or planning about it or looking for their weaknesses. I just have the one subject area.
Would you echo that with the ELA too?
Absolutely.
In terms of just more, I don't even want to say word quality, but when you're working with 3 people who are focused on, I think you can dive even more into it, right? And like you said, you didn't have time before because you were teaching 3 different things. And we're putting the K-5, the science chair in next year, we hope, to kind of help with the investigations and things that we're doing there. But I really see where we're going with this. We're really kind of honing down further and further and further and finding, like I said, an individualized plan for almost every kid, which, again, where the state is leaning towards. In 5 years, that's probably where it's going. And I think, again, we're ahead of the game with things. And this really helps us. In the science of reading, I think we had another 15 people with the training that we had for the Superintendent Day. And then we also had another, like you said, Colleen, a bunch of people go to HFM BOCES. So when the governor rolled that out, I was kind of excited because I was like, wow, look at all the people we already have, rolling this out as well. And HFM BOCES has been a huge help, obviously, with the science of reading piece because they've been ahead of the game too a little bit. It's almost like they saw it coming. It was interesting that the governor dropped that, a couple months ago when we were already well into it. So
They offered a lot of webinars and virtual PD last year, and quite a few of us took advantage of multiple ones. Yeah, so they were definitely.
So last year to now, there's a ton of elementary teachers that have had some type of vast science of reading training.
We're actually moving it beyond elementary.
What's that?
We're actually moving it beyond elementary. Right. So we need to all become proficient in teaching how to read, and so we're really trying to push as many people in the secondary level to be working on that as well.
And there were quite a few of us that signed up for the SUNY Pulse.
Yes, the student, that was the badging one. Yep.
And we
15
can only
people.
hope that they just hold on to that for at least 10 or 15 years before we
Yeah.
change to the next.
We'll see.
That's wishful thinking, right?
Yep.
New York State. Well, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tough class.
You're welcome.
Go to approvals. Capital improvement project.
These are all the bids finally. New York State has our final approval finally. And these are all the bids that came through, so off we go. There'll be a lot of stuff going on this summer. There'll be another round next summer, just because again, the actual supplies and the timing of it. What I mean by the timing of it, for us to do air handling units on our you have to rip up the roofs, and those areas could be 8 or 10 classrooms, right? So if you don't get it in the summer, now we have to displace 8 or 10 classrooms, which we can't do, and we wouldn't want to do. So some of this will be hold on to next year. So this summer we plan to get everything done except a few of the air handling type of area units, and that'll be for next summer. So these bids will finally, great bids. We had multiple bids come in as opposed to just one per level, which is great because that kind of drove the prices, which was nice. And they were really vastly different, which was nice too, because if we only had one and they happened to be the highest one, we were stuck. So a lot of them we had 3 to 4 bids per one. So it was kind of nice to see the difference in prices. So that kind of helped us. If the voters approve the extra 1.5 million, like I said, we're using 170,000 in fund balance to gain 1.3 million from the state, which would give us 1.5 million additional onto the building project for zero cost, to the taxpayer. That will allow us to finish the alternate project, because what has happened, remember, we approved this project 2.5 years ago. We all know what's happened in the past 2.5 years. Wages, supplies, equipment have skyrocketed. And it's so hard because we started planning this project almost 3 years ago, because you have to plan it, put it together, go through multiple meetings, put it out to vote, then put it to state ed, then roll it out. And that takes a lot of time. So in the middle of an inflation bust, that kind of didn't help anybody. So right now we have alternate projects on the list, like some of the key areas that we wanted to. We wanted to update the pool with some maintenance items. We wanted that parking lot near the soccer and softball field. And we also wanted the middle school outdoor learning space. And this additional 1.5 million will allow us to finish all those alternates.
Where does the solar fit into that timeline in the future?
The solar would be another year after that. That's just the timeline of it. And with that, remember, we're just asking for the 10% additional aid on it. New York State will give schools an extra 10% if the voters vote that in, just the 10% piece. And that would be $220,000 extra savings for us over 16 years or 18 years. So it kind of all fits in a certain way. And then if we ever if we're able to move to track 2 for this geothermal project at the elementary, which would allow us to put cooling in all of our buildings, what we obviously need there, so we have the heat and the cooling. Because remember, our buildings are now 60 years old down there, so the boilers are starting to go. So your heating systems and your ventilation systems are starting to, so it wouldn't behoove us to replace it with the same stuff. And with money out there with NYSERDA, you got to take advantage of the funds. So anyway, the solar would, we finished that. That probably would be finished by summer of 26. So.
And will the work this summer or next summer have any effect on our programming?
One thing it might do is shift some areas, like we might not have we might not have summer school at the high school, we might have it down the elementary school, or we might have driver's ed at the elementary school. So for the most part, that shouldn't do anything. That's why we're going to push some of the air handling units till next summer so we don't have to displace 10 classrooms during the school year. But we have to evaluate all of our air handling units to see if we can live through another year. That's the problem too. So these are just all the bids.
Vote on this, right?
Yep.
Okay, motion to approve. Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Guys getting all this?
You look so enthused.
Okay, personnel, do you want to do a consent agenda?
Yep.
Okay, motion for consent?
Motion. Consent.
All
Yep.
in favor, sorry. Okay, so resignation?
One is a resignation for the position to take the new position, which is B. And that will open up a cleaner position, which we posted as anticipated, and we'll start to do interviews after that closes.
Motion to approve?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Yep.
Is that it? Second.
Just a reminder, our next board meeting is really close, that's 2 weeks, April 11th. We have 2 in April. Budget-wise, supposedly New York State said that there's a handshake agreement possibly tomorrow. I don't know, I don't believe that. That's what it's been said. I wouldn't expect to really see our final runs, hopefully, by the time we come back for the April 11th. And then, as I said, I'm meeting with the health insurance next Wednesday. So hopefully, by April 11th, we have final resolve on where things are. If we were able to get to where I hope we do, what I mean by that is if we were able to get the 6.5% for the health insurance, and we're able to get the 2 or 3% from the state, we should be right about just using the ERS reserve without using other reserves or fund balance. That would be ideal situation, to tell you the truth. So.
Do you go to the executive?
No.
Okay.